Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. So they've started to tease stuff from behind the scenes on Thor Ragnarok. They're actually shooting the movie right now. So I'm going to play this clip and then I'm going to explain what's going on with everything.
Here we are, beginning of shooting for Thor 3 at the studios. Ready to have a train, got my shake, got my shoes, and as requested, got my roller coaster put in. So it's just a little something on the perks list that comes with being Thor. So see you later, and
So this really cool, they're going to be sharing stuff from behind the scenes. So everybody's showing up to set. I really like this picture here, and if you imagine, this is like a Marvel behind the scenes image where Tom Hiddleston, like Loki, has been captured by Enchantress, and Marvel sends Deadpool to extract him so they can make the movie. But Deadpool himself also gets distracted, as he tends to do. So what the hell is going on with Thor Ragnarok? They haven't had a Thor movie in a while, so I think they're going to be all hands on deck trying to get people excited about this. Just complete hype making all around. So naturally, Chris Hemsworth is having a little fun behind the scenes. The director is someone you may not have seen before, but he's probably one of the most amazing indie directors that Marvel has got. Like this year when Doctor Strange comes out, you'll see the benefit of getting a really awesome indie director. Scott Derrickson, really awesome horror film director, so you'll start to see the benefits of Marvel kind of thinking outside the box when it's picking its directors. So the director of this new Thor movie is going to give you like the most amazingly weird space fantasy film ever. It's going to be super weird in the best possible way. Because Thor is one of those weird characters where like the Asgardians have technology that rivals what you see in Guardians of the Galaxy, you know, like a more traditional science fiction space film. But because their race is so long-lived, they each live for about 5,000 years, there hasn't been a lot of innovation, so like their culture has stayed relatively the same. That's why they look like they're LARPing Game of Thrones with super advanced space technology. So we actually know quite a bit about the film, especially just from the cast. Like, Cate Blanchett is going to be so awesome. We'll talk about her in a second. But the other low-key behind-the-scenes teaser is Mark Ruffalo here. Like, follow me along as I tease the shit out of Thor Ragnarok this summer and fall. It's going to be so much fun watching the Hulk just beat the shit out of so many Asgardians. If you're confused as to why they chose Thor Ragnarok as like the next Marvel film to put Hulk in, then just remember this scene here. Think about how much fun Hulk is going to have with an entire race full of beings that are just as strong as Thor. He is going to smash everything. Speaking of which, Chris Hemsworth tweeted this hammer and was like, expect some big changes, little changes. This doesn't mean that Mjolnir is going to change. His hammer is going to still be the same hammer. The teaser here that I think was lost on a lot of news media that, maybe isn't super familiar with the comics, is that Jack Kirby's Ragnarok, which is, largely inspired some of the thematic things that are happening in this film, is all about burning Asgard to the ground and rebuilding it. So this isn't so much a teaser for his actual hammer, although of course there is always Thor hammer jokes. Like remember Thor the Dark World, where he was jumping from one planet to the other, so the hammer would just like switch directions mid-flight and go in the other direction. There will be plenty of hammer comedy, but this is more of like a hammer you would use to build something. So Thor is going to have to rebuild Asgard in Thor Ragnarok, or at least at the end of Thor Ragnarok. And part of the reason is because of Hela, the person that Cate Blanchett is playing. They teased this concept art, so they pretty much confirmed who she was playing. She kind of represents death for the Asgardians, so I'm actually curious to see if she shows up in Avengers Infinity War as like Marvel's version of death, like they make it an even bigger concept. The movies tend to twist things from the comics just a little bit to make them simpler, and I think it's a lot easier for people to conceptualize the idea of Cate Blanchett than some crazy cosmic idea that they've never met before. Like it's much easier for people to connect with another person, like the actual face of an actor, than it is for like some big CG monster, which is probably why we're not going to see Firelord Surtur in the movie, but that's not confirmed or anything. He's just like one of the big Thor villains from the comics that we haven't seen yet. In fact, Odin, I know a lot of people are like, where the hell is Odin in this movie? Supposedly Anthony Hopkins said when they were doing press for that movie that he's dead. So I think what's going to happen is he'll just be in the thrall of Hela in this movie because Anthony Hopkins is actually like physically in the movie. So they will have to address what's going on with Odin. But Hela, the villain, exists in Hell, like that's the name of her domain. That's kind of like the Asgardian version of the afterlife. So I wouldn't be surprised if that is where Odin is, and he's just been her captive this whole time. What I'm hoping is that Thor will finally say, okay, I'm ready to be king, and the Odin Force will become the Thor Force. So if you don't know what the Odin Force is, it's like this grand cosmic power that is made up of the life force of Odin's brothers. Now, I don't know how the movies are going to change this because they tend to make things a little bit simpler, but what happened is, is when Odin was facing Firelord Surtur a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. They trapped him on this realm here, but in doing so, his brother sacrificed himself. So Odin had two brothers. They sacrificed themselves, and Odin absorbed their life force. That became the Odin Force, which makes Odin one of the most powerful beings in the universe. But that doesn't necessarily make him an elder of the universe. Like Jeff Goldblum's character is playing one of the elders of the universe, who's kind of like this grand chess master in the cosmic scheme of things. So he would be one of the few people who could probably take on Thanos. Odin versus Thanos is also a really good fight too, but usually when people that powerful in the Marvel Universe face off, one of them has some sort of advantage. Like there's no way Odin could beat Thanos if Thanos had the Infinity Gems and the Infinity Gauntlet, but without it, they're pretty evenly matched. So because we're heading into Avengers Infinity War, what I'm hoping is Thor will eventually gain access to the Thor Force. And what happens is when Thor becomes the new Odin, the Odin Force becomes the Thor Force. Like he gains that Odin power. So I know it sounds a little confusing, but what happens is in the comics, when Thor takes Odin's place, like when Odin dies, Thor becomes the new Odin. He becomes Super Thor. It's like Thanos going from regular Thanos to having the Infinity Gauntlet and becoming Super Thanos. So you get the idea. It's just an extra powerful version of Thor. There's still too many question marks in the MCU right now, so we really don't know exactly what's going to be happening in Avengers Infinity War besides the assembling of the Infinity Gauntlet. But you basically have Hela trying to destroy Asgard, and then Thanos will probably take advantage of that. They've been teasing the presence of Thanos, like the, purple glove-wearing man. Thanos' role in all this has actually become kind of funny. Behind the scenes, he's become this shared joke amongst all the new Marvel directors, like, hey, I'm new to this. I'm not really sure. Do I have to put the purple glove floaty chair person in my movie? And James Gunn's like, oh yeah, it's a law now. You have to put him in all the movies. But remember, Odin's vault is like the cosmic treasure chest that everyone wants to raid. So I wouldn't be surprised if Hela is trying to destroy Asgard and steal something from Odin's vault. But the presence of one of the elders of the universe via Jeff Goldblum's character just ensures that there's going to be some macro MCU story arc stuff going on. Because like the Collector in Guardians of the Galaxy, they took one of the gems to the Collector to keep. He is one of the elders of the universe. So if Jeff Goldblum's character is one of the other elders of the universe, just expect some gem-related stuff to be happening. There's still the time gem, and there's still the soul gem, so I wouldn't be surprised if there's like some gauntlet or some gem stuff happening. Remember, the gauntlet is separate from the gems, so that is currently like the macro arc in the MCU, like the one thing that connects all of these films, because Guardians of the Galaxy is still kind of floating off on its own. It's not really connected to the Earth-based films yet, at least not till Avengers Infinity War. But hopefully some of this behind-the-scenes stuff gets you guys a little hype for the movie. They're going to be rolling through production, so they'll just continue to tease stuff out like this. But in related news, I'll be doing some new Spider-Man tonight. There's some Spider-Man Homecoming stuff to talk about, so be sure to subscribe to get that. I love the idea that Thor asked Marvel's corporate version of Odin to put Spider-Man in Civil War. I'll explain that story in my Spider-Man video tonight, but Chris Hemsworth himself made a personal phone call to recommend Tom Holland for the role of Spider-Man, so I'll explain that tonight. It's actually a really fun story. So while you guys wait for me to post that Spider-Man video, you can click here for all my Spider-Man Homecoming videos, and you can click here to learn about the new Iron Man that's coming this fall. Iron Man is going to be a 15-year-old girl this fall. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let's high five. I'll see you guys tonight.